everybody, welcome to Atlas Tabletop Gaming. In this video I'm going to go over a competitive list that I took to a local tournament about 3 weeks ago now. I've been meaning to do this video for a while, and I will go through the army, the tournament format, and I'll do a quick run through of each game, how they went, and where I finished in the actual tournament itself. The tournament was hosted by my local gaming club, which is Gloucester Tabletop Gaming Community, and yeah, it was a fantastic tournament. It was 1,000 points, done in pods of 6, so we had 18 people participate in the tournament, all at 1,000 points. And yeah, the army that I took, which is interesting really, because I wouldn't have normally have taken this army, but my friend Dale said to me, he said, "Carl, what are you taking?" I said, "Oh, probably either my Dark Elder or my Death Guard." And he said, "Why don't you take a list that's not that great and see how well you do?" And I was like, okay, I'll take Tyranids. So I took, like I just said, right, Tyranid army, gribblies, bugs. Yeah, no, it was fun. What I'll do is I'll set up the army in front and show you what it was all about and all that sort of good stuff. What I took, why I took it, and how well did it do. And yeah, fun tournament, lots of beer, which is important at these fun tournaments. So, okay, I will be back in a minute with the army, the list, the game by game analysis, who I played, how I played them, what did they bring, and yeah, and also subscribe. Do it now. I'll wait. Yeah, you done it? Sweet. Okay, so welcome back everybody, and thank you for subscribing, because I know you all just did that, and thank you to people that have already subscribed to the channel. It doesn't mean much to you guys to do it, but to the channel it means everything, so thank you for that. So let's get into it. So before you see my 1,000 point Tyranid army. It's actually 997 points as the crow flies, so you know, 3 points less, but there's nowhere else I could have spent it. So what I do is I run through what adaptions I have and warlord traits, like I do with my normal army reviews, so that you can see what sort of list I was taking, and I'll also put the link to the army list in the description as well, so you can all see exactly what it is on paper. So as I said, my mate Dale arranged the tournament down Gloucester Tabletop Gaming Community, and it was, I've already said it but I'll say it again, 3 games throughout the day, hour and a half per game, which doesn't seem like a lot of time, but actually in 1,000 points on such a small map, it's not too bad. It's not too bad at all. So let's get into it. The Hive Fleet is called Hive Fleet Mount, and if you're from the GTGC, you'll know exactly what that means. Yeah, so basically I'll get into it. So I've taken, so they're painted as Behemoth, but let's be absolutely brutally honest, rerolling charges is great, but there are better ones out there. So I went to the Psychic Awakening book, Book of Baal, whatever it's called, and I picked Adaptive Exoskeleton so basically if you don't know what that is, yeah, so I went for Adaptive Exoskeleton, and if you don't know what that is, Termagants, Hormagaunts and Gargoyles models get a 6-up invuln. As you can see, I've got plenty of little gribblies, so I thought, you know, they've only got a 6-up armor save anyway, why don't I just turn that into an invulnerable save, so I went for that. And then I also went for Biometallic Cysts, which basically improves the armor penetration characteristics of Scything Talons that models with this adaptation are equipped with become AP -1. So pretty much, apart from these guys, every unit in this army has Scything Talons. So I thought that would be a great thing to have, and AP1 all over the shop is always fun. So that was that, and then for Hive Fleet adaptions, is what I chose. So for the HQ then, I spent 1 CP for the Progeny of the Hive, which allows me to give him a special rule, as well as the other unit in the army another special rule, to give him something extra, just a little bit more survivability. But I'll get to the Warriors in a second. So the Hive Tyrant, so I really like the Hive Tyrant model. I think it's fantastic, but then when you look at its stat line, it's kind of like, oh, okay, so I'm only strength 6, I get 4 attacks. Oh, okay. Right, bit underwhelming for 220 points, but we'll roll with it, we'll see what happens. So yeah, I went for the Progeny of the Hive, which basically allows me to give a monster unit an adaptive physiology, which I did, and I gave it to my Hive Tyrant. So what's the Hive Tyrant armed with? It's got Adrenal Glands, which basically means add 1 to its charge distance and advances. And I gave it Dermic Symbiosis, which basically gives him a 5-up invulnerable save, but that's okay, he's got a 4-up anyway. But the real reason why you take it is because it's a bit like the Imperial Knight Hawk Shroud trait, where you double the amount of wounds that you have for the damage table that you're on, so you don't potato that quickly, which is always quite handy. He's got a 4-up invuln. He's got the wings as well. And I gave him the relic, the Ymgarl factor. Basically at the beginning of the fight phase, I roll a d3 for this model and apply the following effects. So 1 to 2 is like +1 strength, 2 to 3 is +1 attack, and 3 to 4, or 5 to 6, sorry, is +1 toughness. So it's quite random, but actually it's quite helpful, just to have something that little bit extra. +1 strength is always handy, +1 toughness is always handy, and +1 attack is always handy, especially when you only have 4. He's armed with a 2 Devourer with Brainleech worms, so he gets 12 shots, range 18, strength 6, AP's fuck all, and 1 damage. It's what you give him, because what else can you really do? He's got the wings, he's got Monstrous Scything Talons, which if you don't know what they are, they're strength user, so strength 6, even though they're Monstrous Scything Talons, -3 and a flat 3 damage. I can reroll hit rolls of 1 when attacking with this weapon, and you get an additional attack if you have 2 pairs. He's also got the Pincer Tail, which I don't think I use in any of the games, mainly probably because I forgot. But other than that, that was that. I then took 3 units of troops, 1 unit of Hormagaunts, which are these dudes here, all armed with Scything Talons, nothing else. Bang, done. Nice and easy. 20 of them though, which means I can re-roll wound rolls of 1, which is quite a handy little unit, to be honest. They actually did do quite a fair bit of damage throughout the tournament. Particularly when they're in a unit 20, they can reroll their wounds of 1, and because they've got Scything Talons, they're rerolling 1s when attacking with this weapon. And there's a stratagem as well that can give them +1 to wounds, which is always nice, especially with the sheer number of attacks this little unit pumps out. They're fantastic. And then I had a unit of Termagants. I went for 14 with Devourers, and a Devourer is a range 18, assault 3, strength 4, no AP, damage 1 weapon. And then I went for 6 with Fleshborers. The reason why you do that is you just add an extra 6 wounds, so if you start getting shot at, you take off the Fleshborers first and then the Devourers, so you got a little bit more buffer before the good weapons start going. And there's 20 in that unit, so again I can re-roll the wounds of 1 when shooting, which is quite nice. And that's it really for Then nothing special really. Then I went for, which you don't see that often, and I don't know why, I went for an entire unit of Tyranid Warriors. I've always liked Tyranid Warriors. I think they're an absolutely fantastic unit, and I don't know why you don't. I know you got like Hive Guard and Tyrant Guard, and people will tend to sort of lean towards those more often than not because they are better, maybe not. I don't know, jury's out for me on that one. But I went for a unit of 9. 7 of them have Death Spitters and Scything Talons, and 2, because the models I haven't got all the models, have Scything Talons and Rending Claws. Remember what my thingy-majiggy is? My Scything Talons get an AP, so they're actually AP1 in combat, which is better than what they would be. So the whole linchpin of this army was in fact my Tyranid Warriors with another unit which I'll talk about in a second, and my whole plan was to just move them up the board, crunching, absolutely crunching and surviving. I've made them really survivable. So the adaptive physiology I've chosen for this one is called Enhanced Resistance. So basically any AP1 or 2 weapons that shoot at them are considered at AP0. So what that means is if you're playing against like a lot of AP2 heavy meta, they ignore that, it just goes down to AP0. So that's actually quite good because they've only got a 4-up save and a toughness of 4, so they're actually quite easily to kill. So if you have that ability to get rid of that, you generally always get in your 4-up save, which is always good, especially when people are aiming small arms fire at them, and that's what happened throughout most of the games. They just survived, except for one game, which we'll talk about that in a second. And again, they're all armed with a Death Spitter, which is basically range 24, assault 3, strength 5, AP -1, 1 damage weapon, and there's a stratagem that allows you to shoot them twice if you want to, because they are an infantry unit. And what I like about the Tyranid Warriors is they have CNAPs, so units within 12 of them don't flee or run away like girls or get -1 to hits, and leadership and stuff like that. So they're a good unit to have if you're going down one flank with one part of your army, just to give synapse all over the place really, so like I have a nice little bubble of that. So moving on then to my elites. I picked one elite, and what was interesting was there's another Tyranid player down at the tournament who plays Tyranids all the time, and he hadn't considered this unit until I used it in a practice game. So I've had 4 games in total in 9th edition for my Tyranids, and that includes the 3 at the tournament. And that was, I'm going to pronounce it wrong, so let me just read it so I can try and get it correct. That's just a weird noise I'm making. The Malceptor. It's quite an expensive unit at 170 points, but I thought he was too good not to bring. And the reason why I think this little bugger is good is has a 4-up invuln. Most of the Tyranid monsters don't really have an invuln save, which is quite nice. He has Psychic Overload, which basically means instead of manifesting any psychic powers in your psychic phase, a Malceptor can unleash brain bursting psychic tendrils. If it does so, roll a dice for the enemy unit within 6 to a maximum number of units shown in the damage table. On a 2+, the Malceptor does 1 mortal wound, and on a 6 it does 3 mortal wounds. So if you've got a bunch of enemy models surrounding him and you think, do you know what, I'm not going to do any other psychic powers, I'm just going to explode into mortal wounds to everyone. It's a great little unit. I really enjoyed doing it or using it. And what I basically did is this dude followed the Tyranid Warriors every game. So where these were, he was there. And the reason for that is the psychic power Catalyst. So every turn, this guy cast Catalyst onto the Tyranid Warriors. Catalyst is only a warp charge of 6, but this guy gets +1 to his psychic roll, so it can cast 2, deny 2, and adds 1 to its psychic test. So that's really, really good. So I was casting Catalyst on a 5 and 2 dice, happening every turn. So basically my Tyranid Warriors were getting -2 weapons, do nothing to them really, and a 5-up, feel no pain, which was really, really nice. And that actually did keep them alive for long periods of the game, especially in the final two. The first one not so much, but we'll talk about that in a sec. And then I had some points spare. The list originally had 2 Carnifexes, but I took one out because I wanted to add some more Gribblies here, add another warrior. So I put in a unit of Raveners. And they're not the greatest, but for 60 points, you can stick them in the backfield, hold an objective for you. And that's what they did, except for the first game, but I don't want to talk about that just yet, but we'll get to it. What are a Ravener? Basically, it's a warrior, but without synapse, and without, you can give them guns, but these guys are just armed with Scything Talons. Again, with my sort of army trait, I get a -1 AP on that, which is quite cool. And also they can deep strike, but when you're playing in 1,000 points, the map is what, 44 by 30. They're very small maps and very hard to deploy, so I never deep strike them. I always started them on the board, and actually that worked out quite well for me. So yeah, they're nothing special, but they can move 12. They are quite irritating. They have a 5-up save. Again, yeah. So the next thing, which actually I think out of everything I've taken was probably the worst choice or worst decision ever. It was a wasted 100 points. I kind of wish I took something else instead of him, but hey ho, I took him. There's nothing I can do about it. Carnifex. Basically, Carnifex armed with Monstrous Scything Talons. That's it. The reason why I had him is to just try and attract some firepower, and boy did he attract some firepower. I don't think he survived any game. Wait, no, yeah he did, the last one. Okay, so yeah, they're not in a great place at the moment. He's 100 points. If you can get him into combat, he might do something. More than likely he won't. So that's my list, guys. Tell me in the comments below what you think about the list. What would you have done differently with the list? And what do you think of it? Good times. So what I will now do is I'll run through the 3 games that I had, who I played, what army they took, what my sort of like my strategies were to use them. Oh, I did forget to mention as well, the Malinceptor has a stratagem from the Book of Baal, Psychic Awakening book, that he can nominate a unit within 6 inches of him to reduce weapon strength by 1. That's incoming firepower. So toughness 4, spacemen are shooting at him, strength 4 weapons, for example. He reduces that strength by 1, so they're now strength 3. And they're winning on a 4. So just little things like that, and it's cheap as like 1 CP. To use. And the Tyranid Warriors have a stratagem as well that they can use. I'll tell you that in a second. Will I get the Book of Baal up? It is on my phone. This is how organised I am, guys. I call it the Book of Baal, but it's called the Blood of Baal because I'm an idiot, but it's okay. There's one in every family. Let's find the stratagem for you guys. It's about reducing the amount of damage that comes into your warriors, and I use this quite effectively during the game or the tournament. Basically, you can reduce the damage of incoming weapons by 1. It's a bit like Death Guard. If it's a damage 2 weapon, it's only damage 1. They've got 3 wounds each, so that was quite nice actually to be able to use. And it's only 1 command point as well. In a small game like this with 6 command points you're starting off with, it was nice to do. So, like I said, that's the army. Tell me what you think about it in the comments below. What we will now do is we will talk about the 3 games that I played. So, first game I played was against a guy called Henry. Pretty sure his name's Henry. Yeah, I'm sure it is. And he brought Ultramarines. Now, in my local community, we do rag on the Ultramarines quite a bit. Not because they're shit, just because they're poster boys, and we like to take the piss. And basically, how the game went was quite poorly for the Tyranids. I believe it was my first game, so I was starting to enjoy a few drinks, pre-tournament nerves set in, and I deployed my Hive Tyrant well away from Henry's Eradicators, thinking, oh, that'll do, I'll survive. So Henry's list, he had 6 Eradicators, a Redemptor, that's right, 6 Eradicators, a Redemptor, I believe a Lieutenant, an Apothecary, a unit of 10 Intercessors, a Rhino with a squad of 5 dudes in it, and that was his army. It doesn't seem like a lot, but the little bastards wouldn't die. So like I said, my Hive Tyrant, I didn't deploy him correctly, although he was away from the Eradicators. I kind of wanted him opposite the Eradicators because I deployed him first rather than later on to see where those Eradicators would go, because I kind of wanted to kill them quickly in the game, but I didn't. So my Hive Tyrant moved forward, so I got first turn. Hive Tyrant moved forward, engaged, charged a Rhino. This is what makes me laugh. A Hive Tyrant should be able to kill a Rhino, no problem at all. No, left all his wounds. But what the good thing was is the Maleceptor got Catalyst out on the Warriors. The Raveners moved forward onto an objective. Everything basically just moved forward apart from the Warriors who stayed back on the home objective, as it were. The Carnifex and the Hormagaunts went on one flank, and the Termagants went on the other, and the Maleceptor stayed in the middle with the Warriors. Henry played an absolutely cracker of a game. After I left killing the Rhino moved out of combat, deployed his guys, moved out of combat. Everything moved forward. The Raveners were the first things to die. Then the Hive Tyrant died to the Eradicators. Boom, straight away headshot. And then the Intercessors and the Dreadnought came forward to meet the Maleceptor, the Warriors, in the centre of the board. I didn't kill the Dreadnought. I believe I killed the unit of 5 Space Marines in combat with these guys, but it took 2 turns. The Carnifex charged into combat and died. The Maleceptor got close, did his explosion thing. What I should have done, that was a mistake as well. I should have cast Catalyst again on the Warriors because they were still at that point full strength. But I didn't. I went for the glory shot. It paid off. I killed the Apothecary, took the Lieutenant down a few wounds, took the Dreadnought down to 1 wound. But the next turn, these guys were killed, those guys were dead. The Maleceptor died to Dreadnought, and the Warriors died to the Eradicators in 1 round of shooting, and that was it basically. The game was over. I believe I scored 25 victory points and Henry scored close to 87. So for the first game, that was quite a defeat, and I was like, oh crap. This could be an interesting day for me. But by this point, I'd been drinking Doom Bar, and I was happy. I was in a good place for that. Henry, like I said, played a fantastic game, and he was a great opponent. I'd happily play him again, and he was a good guy to talk to. So that was game 1. Interesting game. Lost. Not used to losing in 40k, but I'm happy to lose to Henry any day of the week. He's a good guy. So the next game, I played Joe, and Joe brought along his Space Wolves, and he had Thunderwolf Cavalry, a couple of unit of Blood Claws, a Wolflord on a doggy, and 2 Dreadnoughts, one with a shield and a axe, and the other one, I believe it was Mournfang, the crazy slicey lightning claw handy things. And I knew straight away he was just going to come straight at me, and I was just going to go straight at him, because 2 very combat army focused, that's what you're going to do. So Joe got turn 1, and like I predicted, Joe moved straight forward with his Space Wolves and got into combat. Because I knew that was going to happen, these guys and these guys screened my front line, and I put my Carnifex next to these guys just to give them a little bit of oomph if they needed it. First turn, Joe got into combat, killed the Carnifex turn 1, killed these guys, and failed, and this was an important failed charge. He failed to get his Lord into combat and his other wolves into combat with the Warriors, and these guys here. In this game I decided that my Raveners will do nothing but just sit on the backfield objective. If anybody comes near them, I might have moved them forward to counter attack, but other than that they were just going to sit there and hold the objective. That was their whole 60 points just to sit there. Fantastic. So my turn 1, these guys were wiped out. So at the end of my movement phase, I moved my Hive Tyrant forward to within 3 inches of his lord. I moved these guys forward to get some shooting down range. I moved the Warriors forward to meet the Thunder Wolf Cavalry, the 2 Dreadnoughts on that flank, and I moved the Maleceptor to go with them to add a bit of punch in combat as well. So yeah, the Maleceptor went over to the other flank to add some punch into combat. If I haven't mentioned already, the Hive Tyrant went over here to engage the Warlord, same with these guys, and then I spent 2 command points to bring back this unit that was wiped out, and what I did is I put them next to Joe's home objective, and basically the goal then was for them to just stay there, because there was a unit Blood Claws further on down the line, just to stay there and not die basically, and they did a good job of that. So turn 1 I charged, I did some shooting. Again, the shooting is not where the army was. I got Catalyst off on here, I got the Horror off on the Hive Tyrant. I forgot to mention he had the Horror, and the one that allows a unit to charge or advance and still charge. No, advance and still shoot normally, as his psychic powers. So I then charged everything into everything that I could, and basically it was just a slugfest for the rest of the game. It took 2 turns to kill the Warlord. The Maleceptor and the Tyranid Warriors battered the Thunder Wolf Cavalry, took them out. The Blood Claws charged into these guys. There was only 5 of them, and they held their own and took them out. The Hive Tyrant again finally killed the Lord. Obviously the Carnifex was dead by this point, who cares? And yeah, it was basically who could kill who first. But during the game I got Assassination, I got engage on all fronts as well, and I was just racking up the points. The game finished very quickly. By turn 3 Joe had lost everyone, and then we just played the game out to turn 5. So I won that one. Joe scored 20 and I scored 82, I believe, and that then allowed me to go up the ranking. So by this point at the start of this game I was in the bottom 5, and I was like, oh crap, I need to play a little bit better. And Joe, fantastic guy to play against, really had a good laugh. And again, somebody put a double vodka in front of me. I think it was JD, decided that it was time for the cheeky sharpeners. So double vodka appeared by turn 2, and then I think another one appeared at the end of the game as well, which was nice. So going into, we then had a little bit of time to kill, so we both walked around, had a chat with everyone that was playing, and just enjoyed the day from that part. So my next game was against Chaz. Chaz is a fantastic guy, and he was the other Tyranid player in the tournament. So it was a game to see who the best Tyranid player was. At this point as well, JD and Ash were playing their final game, and they were the top 2 at this time. And it seemed to be that whoever won that game, whoever came out on top, would win the whole day. So there's a little bit of a sneaky peeky of who might have won. But other than that, we just had a few more beers, and I went outside, checked out what the Blood Bowlers were doing, because we also was hosting a Blood Bowl tournament at the time as well, and we were also having a board game event at the very same time as well. So Gloucester Tabletop Gaming Community, one of probably the best club around this area, just purely because of how much they focus on the community and what they give back to the sort of the tabletop gaming community in the local area. So the last game then against Chaz, he took Tyranids. Now Chaz's army was different to mine. Chaz focused more on shooting. So yeah, Chaz's army was Kronos, so he got to reroll 1s in the shooting phase. He had 2 Broodlords, 3 big units of these guys. He had an Exocrine. He also had 6 Hive Guard or Tyrant Guard, the ones with the guns that don't need line of sight. And I believe, let me just wrap my brain, because I remember all of this is from memory, guys, and I believe that was it in his 1,000 points. So basically it was whoever got first turn would do a lot of damage. We rolled off. Chaz got a. I rolled off. I got a 2. Thinking shit, I'm going to get second turn here. Chaz rolled a 1. I felt really bad for Chaz at that point, because up to that point as well, his dice roll had been absolutely, yeah, not the best. So I got first turn. What I decided to do is the Exoskeleton scares me, so go with the big cannon. So I moved my Hive Tyrant within charging range. We had a big line of sight blocking terrain in the middle of the board, which was fantastic. So I moved the Tyranid Warriors and the Melon Scepter around. I left the Raveners again on the home objective. The Carnifex moved to the left of the line of sight blocking terrain with the units of these guys, and the Hive Tyrant. I did a little bit of shooting, took out, actually my shooting was effective because it was against Tyranids. And then I successfully cast the Catalyst on these guys. He got the Horror off onto the Hive Guard, and he then charged in, did a bit of shooting, charged in, and locked the Exoskeleton into combat. Took him down to 2 wounds. And then that was the only charges in turn 1. So the Hive Tyrant was sort of like out there, but by this point most of Chaz's Hormagaunts were dead, and I was closing in for the kill. So before he had time to move, I had completely swarmed him and sat on all the objectives apart from the one in his deployment zone. He then opened fire, started targeting the Warriors, but they held firm. I think I lost 1. And that was just using all those cheeky stratagems, the -1 damage, especially against the Tyrant Guard, and the minus AP helped. And the 5 Sphere No Pain really helped. So I really enjoyed these guys in that game. And then that was pretty much it. The Exoskeleton moved out of combat and the Broodlords charged the Hive Tyrant, which I actually think was a mistake of Chaz, because the Broodlords weren't going to do much, even though I had loads of attacks. I rolled extra toughness, so it was toughness 8 for the combat, which was fun for me, maybe not so much fun for Chaz. So then it was my turn again. The Warriors moved into combat against the small unit of these guys left over. The Hormagaunts, the Carnifex, and the Raveners stayed where they were. The others sort of moved forward again. I shot the Exoskeleton off the board with the Devourers from the Hive Tyrant. No, I didn't, because I was stuck in combat. So I believe I smited one of the Broodlords. Cast Catalyst on these guys, and then it was combat. So the Warriors had charged in, took out the unit of Hormagaunts, and then the Hive Tyrant took out both Broodlords in combat. So in this game, the Hive Tyrant actually did really well, because he didn't have 6 Eradicators shooting him. And then in Chaz's second turn, the Hive Guard, he brought in some what they called deep striking units. Sorry guys, let me find them. Oh, this guy doesn't know what he's on about. Lictors. He brought in 2 units of Lictors, and failed their charges. And then in the subsequent combat phase, what he had left, the Hive Tyrant killed the other Broodlord, and then that was the end of combat. I then turned these guys against the one Lictor. These guys attacked the other Lictor, again casting the Catalyst on these guys, and they just stayed where they were. They didn't move forward, because at this point there was 6 Hive Guard left, an Exoskeleton and 2 Lictors. So I shot the Exoskeleton off the board with the Twin Link Devourers from the Hive Tyrant, and then the Hive Tyrant charged into the Hive Guard, and the Raveners and the Hormagaunts dealt with the 2 Lictors, and killed them very quickly, and that was the end of the game. And it happened that fast. And then somebody come along with a couple of vodkas, which was a nice break for it. I believe Chaz scored 12 points, and I scored 89. Again, a high scoring game for me, and it was really enjoyed playing Chaz. His painting is absolutely incredible. But yeah, that was the end of that game, and so that was the end of the tournament. I went from bottom 5 from my first game into the top 5 because of the 2 good victories. JD overall won the tournament, so congratulations JD. He took Admech, and what I'm hoping to do is to get his Admech on the channel, film a battle report with my Tyranids and his Admech. I absolutely expect a full spanking. People aren't talking about it at the moment as much as they were with Dark Outer, but Adeptus Mechanicus are absolutely strong at the moment. They're incredibly good, and I'd like to get him on the channel and just have a little game. What do you reckon? Put in the comments below if you want to see that happen, and I will absolutely do my best to make it happen. And yeah, other than that, it was a great day. Lots of beer was drunk. I took some videos as well, so I will at some point edit it and get it up on the channel. But guys, thank you for watching the video. Hit that like button and absolutely subscribe to this channel. The more subscriptions I get, the more encouragement I get to do more videos, which is all good for everyone involved. Thank you for watching. As always, stay safe, have fun, enjoy tabletop gaming, and don't hate on Ultramarines too much. Take it easy.